Hi, I am one of the developers from Aurora, and today I'll be showing you how to install our new blueprint projects for Unreal Engine 5 Dynamic Combat Camera. Dynamic Combat Camera is an add-on for our code plugin Ultimate Gameplay Camera. In order to obtain Dynamic Combat Camera, you first need to have already purchased and installed Ultimate Gameplay Camera in your project. Once you have Ultimate Gameplay Camera already set up in your project, you can follow along. The first thing you want to do is, of course, install Dynamic Combat Camera, or DCC for short. Open the DCC project and then right-click the project's folder and select Migrate. You can now migrate the contents of DCC to your own project we should already have, the Ultimate Gameplay Camera. Once that's done, you want to look for the Player Camera Manager Blueprints class that we have created during the installation tutorial. You want to go to the class settings and change the parent class to our own DCC Camera Manager. Once that's done, you're going to notice that you have a new inherited function from the interface where you can just plug in a reference to self. And that's more than 50% of the work done. As you can see here, now the features are lost. Everything is already set up. The only thing that's left to do is create new camera data assets that have the combat camera settings. If we open the focus camera data asset that we created last time, you're going to notice that there's no combat settings category here. So what we're going to do is right-click on the data asset and then convert to a different type. In the class filter, we're just going to look for a DCC data asset, and we're going to select that. Once you open the data asset, now you can see that we haven't lost any of the previous settings that were already there. We'll still have the focus settings. But now we have this new category here for the combat camera. The DCC modifier is very similar to the focus modifier. If you remember the last video where we set up the focus modifier, this modifier has a target method, a getter function, which returns the target that we're interested in and that the camera should focus. Similarly, the DCC modifier needs a getter for a vector of actors. These are the actors that are normally enemies which are currently in combat with the player. So it's up to you to decide which enemies to give us, and then you can just create a class with the UGC_I get actors method. You open it, you override its getActors method, and that's where you give us the array of enemies currently in combat. And that's what DCC uses in order to calculate the camera settings when it's in combat. So now that the data asset has been set up, you'll notice that as soon as we spawn and get close enough to the enemy, the DCC modifier kicks in and then the camera zooms out. The DCC modifier works by modifying the final value of the arm length of the spring arm component. And it does this in two ways. The first one is by multiplying the value, and it does this with the multiplier methods. The second one is by adding on top of the arm length value, and it does this with the additive method. What I'm going to do now is increase the distance by which it zooms out just to see the DCC modifier in action. One of the very cool things about DCC is that you can mix and match multiplier and additive methods. While you can only select one multiplier method in your data asset, you can select multiple additive methods that can be enabled at the same time. So right now we're using a static multiplier method, That means that as soon as we enter combat, the camera zooms out because the arm length gets multiplied by a constant value, which is now 5. That's all for this video. In the next tutorial, we'll be going into much further detail about each of the features, especially the multiplier method and the additive methods, to explain exactly how each one works and how each one changes the arm length value. Until next time.